Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Into the Pit. And I have here Miss Emily McGill, and she is a recovering Broadway publicist turned tarot reader. So I want you to kind of explain how you went from Broadway to tarot reading.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Kyle. I'm so excited to be here and chatting with you. I love coming on to folks' podcasts and just having really interesting conversations with people that I probably never would have met otherwise. So thank you for the invite. Yeah, I was always a theater kid. I always knew Broadway was it for me forever. And, the pandemic was a gift in some ways that allowed me to sort of take a minute and reconsider that once I made my dream come true, what came next? And it turns out it's tarot of all things, which is really exciting. So I back in 2014, my grandmother passed away. And thank you. She and I were very close, but she was also a really complicated woman. And so I thought that was the time I started therapy. I went and started seeing someone, and I have a friend who, in their show, they always say that therapy is like inviting a stranger into the attic of your mind. Mm-hmm. And you say, all right, there's a bowling trophy around here somewhere. So I want to show you this bowling trophy. And they're like, great. What's that Bob Marley record doing over there? Tell me about that. Right. And that's the analogy he uses for therapy. And I love it so much because it's true. You go for one thing and you end up unpacking so much more. And it was the best gift I ever gave myself. And my therapist is actually who introduced me to tarot.
Really?
Yeah. Every now and again, when I didn't know what to do in a session, she would say, let's pull a card. And so we did. And slowly but surely we would do that, more often. And I would say we've been doing that for maybe 2 years. And I was looking for a daily practice that was just for me. Didn't have anything to do with anybody else. And she was like, why don't you start pulling a card? And I said, well, I don't have a deck, first of all. But she was like, you know what, there's an app you can download. Why don't you try that? And so I did. And, for $10, which is, pricey for an app, but not a lot for a deck of tarot cards.
Right.
I got to start sort of just checking it out and seeing what it was. And am I into this? Am I not? What do I think? And I loved it. I loved every day I would pull, tap on that app on my phone and it would pop up a beautiful image. Mm-hmm. And then I would just tap my phone again and it would give me the full description of the card. So I started to learn about what they meant. And I started to learn more about the structure of the deck and what cards come when, why. And the more that I explored it, the more that I was interested and curious and wanted to, dive deeper. And so shortly before the pandemic, I was gifted my first physical deck. And mm-hmm. I was able at that point to start reading for other people. It's pretty hard to do on your phone.
Right.
But when I started to do it for other people, I realized it was such a gift because what I hadn't really considered yet at that point was how tarot is a tool for communication with yourself. Mm-hmm. It's something that you can use to tap into your gut, into your heart, into that intuition, and listen to it in a way that you don't have access to otherwise. I like to say that tarot is a visual or a physical representation mm-hmm. of information that you hold within yourself. So something really deep inside of yourself, it's like texting yourself a meme, right?
Right. So the cards, though, they're kind of different interpretations, I guess, according to whatever abilities you might have.
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily its abilities, but definitely different authors have different perspectives. So when you're using a deck of tarot cards, that the person who created that deck, their perspective is going to be throughout it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also all about the reader, the person who is doing the reading and who's using the cards, about their perspective. And it's also about the person who's getting the reading or receiving that information that they, that they're amplifying for themselves through a deck of cards.
Right.
So it's not really ability so much as like the intersection of time and space and where the participants are at any given moment. If I were to do a reading with someone, right now, it would be completely different than if I did a reading with them 5 minutes from now.
Right.
Be two separate readings, or even 30 seconds apart, or 5 seconds, right? They're separate readings. It's dependent on the mindset that you're in the moment, what you want to explore with the cards, where, sometimes it's like as dumb as like where you had lunch that day, could have affected what the rest of your day looks like.
True.
It can be the tiniest little things. So there, it's really just a where you are in that given moment.
Now, is tarot more of a preference? Because I know there's tarot cards and there's oracle cards.
Mm-hmm.
My wife, she's an empath, but she uses oracle cards. And a friend of ours, she's a psychic and she uses oracle cards.
Yeah.
So I guess the tarot, I haven't really asked them, but what's the difference?
Thanks for asking. I love that question. Oracle cards have much more flexibility.
Okay.
Oracles tend to be a collection of, archetypes and symbols and ideas and beings and, whatever the sort of theme of the deck is, it's a collection of that author's perspectives on that, right? And you'll always have that with, as I said, with whoever's creating a deck. But there's not necessarily a specific number of cards, a specific structure that an oracle deck provides. They may have a structure, they could have a major arcana, they could have a minor arcana with the various suits, but a tarot deck really has a very specific structure. So that major arcana that I mentioned, those are like the magic cards.
Right.
When they show up, you want to pay special attention to them. And that's just one part of the deck, right? There's two parts that make it up. The minor arcana is the other part. And that's like a deck of traditional playing cards. You have your 4 suits, ace through 10, but then there are 4 face cards or court cards instead of 3. And the major arcana, those magic cards, they correspond to like the hero's journey, the human soul's evolution from the fool, which is trusting and knows nothing. It's Jon Snow, right? All the way up through the world, which is very whole, healed, sort of like holy energy. And so it's that cycle that we all experience in the human soul, and we love to read and watch and experience in a hero's journey. Think about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how that's taken off. It's using the same archetypes. It's the same.
Yep.
It's there in everything. It's in comics, it's in music, it's in television, it's in film, it's in theater, it's in dance, it's in art, it's everywhere. Writing, storytelling, it's everywhere. So there's the biggest difference is the structure, that a tarot deck is always going to have at least 78 cards, 79 if somebody with an ego has decided to write it and create their own, right?
Right. Well, and that leads to another question. Don't you think some of these cards have just gotten a little too commercialized? Because they'll have a set of cards for Stranger Things, or
well, you're talking to someone who's working on her own Broadway tarot deck, so I'm gonna have to plead the fifth on that one.
Well, I don't know. I don't do cards myself. And I couldn't really give an opinion on it.
Well, sure you could.
I don't know. It's kind of weird when I go in the store and I see
Yeah.
something like angel cards, and I'm like, that could have pretty good significance. But then next to
Uh-huh.
it'll be, oh, the new AC/DC version of
Right.
tarot or something.
Right. But also, that's kind of fun because the thing I love about this, and I am biased as I do have a similar project in the works, but it sort of demystifies tarot then.
Yeah.
Somebody who's not really interested in tarot but loves AC/DC might pick that up.
Right.
And then they'd be curious and like, oh, what's this? And maybe it's a party trick, maybe it's something that they never use again, or maybe they're like, oh, there's something more to this.
Well, if they said kiss on them, I would buy them.
There you go.
But right? I mean, compared to a company that just puts them out,
yeah,
you're doing something that's more personal, so you're really putting yourself into this.
Yes,
whereas,
absolutely.
That's what I don't know. I don't know anything about cards, so I don't know if
and I guess it's a case by case basis, right? It could be a major, we'll just run with this AC/DC because I love this example. It could be like someone who has been a member of their fan club since, the founding of it, that was into tarot and decided to do it. Right. Or it could be like a cash grab that somebody in the band was like, you know what, what's really hot right now? Let's put out a deck of tarot cards.
That would be Gene Simmons. He would do that.
So, it goes either way, right? You never know. And I think that it's really just a matter of what you connect with and what you vibe with, it has less to do for me necessarily with the intention behind how it showed up in my life, and more about the intention with which I want to run with it or not.
Now, I will say this, even though I'm not into the cards, I'm really drawn to runes, and you can actually do basically the same thing with runes.
Totally.
Which I want to learn to do that, but I make every excuse in the world not to start something because I got 100 other things going on.
Right.
But I really do want to do that.
Yeah, I don't really know much about runes, but the imagery is so beautiful to me. I see the different symbols and I'm like, oh gosh, it just looks like such a cool ancient, language.
Well, you have some for prosperity and you have some for protection and just, love and all these different symbols, and I use them for protection because I do paranormal investigations, and I like to have them. That's my talisman, I guess you'd say. Other people use crystals and things like that,
or sigils. Probably your rune sounds sort of like a version of a sigil too, right? Because are you tending to put them on yourself and on your surroundings and the things that your instruments and the things that you work with?
Well, see, I have some that are tattooed on me, and also I have jewelry, necklaces and things like that, and I have 3 sets that I bought, and then some that I made myself.
Awesome.
So that, and the ones you make yourself, those tend to have a little bit more magic to it.
Oh my gosh, so powerful.
Yeah, I wish a lot of other people would get interested in it too. They'd find out how fascinating it really is. And I mean, it's part of my heritage as well. So.
Oh, tell me about that.
Oh, well, I just found out a couple of years ago that we have a Nordic type background. The funny thing is, I mean, we have English and we have Irish. My great grandfather on my dad's side was full-blooded Cherokee.
Oh, wow.
And then I found out after my uncle passed away that we had Cherokee on my mom's side of the family.
Wow.
And I mean, I'm a mutt, so.
I mean, most of us are, right? Even when we have family that originated in a particular geographical location, how long were they there before that? How many generations did it take to get there, right?
Oh yeah, well, all of us have a mixture.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's very few purebred people nowadays.
It's we're humans.
We're humans.
We've conquered the globe, and now we need to start taking care of it.
Yeah, no lie. So I guess I'm gonna go ahead and ask, would you do a tarot for me?
Absolutely, I would love to. Um, do you have anything in particular that you want to explore with the cards today?
My main concern is the direction of the show.
Awesome. Great. So I'm going to use a deck of cards today that is the Rider-Waite-Smith deck.
Okay.
This is a super traditional deck that you'll see. It was created by Pamela Coleman Smith, was the artist who drew it back in, I think it was like the 1920s. And this is a deck that, along with the Thoth deck, are most sort of reinvented in that sort of commercial sense that you were talking about today. So anytime you see a sort of like intuitive tarot deck where something that it's really based on the imagery and looks less like a deck of playing cards, are oftentimes inspired by the drawings that we're going to use today with the Rider-Waite-Smith. And I love this. It's super classic, and that's why I like it.
Gotcha.
All right, so we're thinking about what is next for the show. Yeah.
Well, let's say the network, because I have different shows on the network.
Okay. So there's a few different tarot spreads that I like to use, right? The spread is the different meanings of the cards that we're gonna pull. And one of my favorites that I don't know this is necessarily answers your question, but this is one of my favorites, so I think we're gonna do it, is what will help you, what will hinder you, and what is your untapped or your unrealized potential.
Okay.
And I think we can do it, we're doing the reading with you, but also like for you and for the network and for the show, right? Like it's going to be micro and macro.
Okay.
As anything is, right? As without, so within, as above, so below. So we're gonna see where they come up with. So the first thing you're gonna do after I give these one more shuffle is you're gonna cut the deck.
Okay.
So you're just gonna tell me when to stop rifling through.
Go ahead. Stop.
Excellent. All right. So as we said, our first card, this is what's going to help you. This is the Five of Pentacles. Okay. So remember I said there are two parts of the deck, the major arcana and the minor arcana.
Right.
So the minor arcana is our like traditional deck of playing cards. We have four suits. Our four suits represent our four elements. So we've got fire. That's our wands. That's like passion, drive, creativity, the stuff that lights you up, that gets you out of bed in the morning. Our water is cups. That's your feelings, your emotions, your intuition. Air is swords, and that is anything mental having to do with the mind. So thoughts, knowledge, wisdom, but then also technology, language, right? Like communication, things like that. And then finally, we have our pentacles or our discs or coins, and that's our earth. That's our physical material and manifest. And so this here is the Five of Coins. And you can see this is like not a very happy card. We see these sort of figures out in the cold. They are kind of wearing rags. They look barefoot. It's snowing. And this card is very much one that that is about like being down on your luck or being out of sync or things just not like it's like always the struggle. And so it's so interesting that this is a card that comes up for what will help you. Okay. And perhaps what will help you is your ability to weather a storm.
Been through many.
Like that's what I'm getting from this, right? That this is saying like, what will help you is that maybe not necessarily how to navigate it, but that you can and will navigate it. Is that resonating for you?
Oh yeah, I've been through hell and back again, believe me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's what this is saying, like your ability to do that.
Physically, mentally,
Uh-huh.
financially.
Mm-hmm.
I've been through some pretty hard times.
Mm-hmm. And how interesting that that's what will help you.
Wow.
That like you've gotten through it every other time.
I never know how I do it, but I do it.
Right. Who does? Especially when you're living it, right? Like, I mean, you never know when you're living it. It ends up being totally different in hindsight than when you're moving through the experience.
Well, I have a degenerative disease in my spine, and it's affecting my bones, and it's onset from diabetes.
Oh, wow.
And so I had to retire early. And I wasn't getting paid, and when I took my retirement, because I'm young, I only get $900 a month from it. So trying to make it in today's world is hard. But I was fortunate enough to get disability, but it just took a long time to get here. And it started out was in pain, and then I had a surgery, and then I was on a cane, and then it went to a wheelchair, back to surgery. And then after all that, I was able to, walk again, and it was back to the cane. Now I'm just about back to the wheelchair again.
Oh man. Kyle, wow. You really
But
have been through the ringer.
I count it as a blessing, though. I know people are like, what? Really? Yeah, because it made me get more serious about doing the podcasting. And then whenever the pandemic started, that's when I finally got my disability. And then, excuse me, I was we actually helped people out for Christmas that year. I was like, if we got a blessing, I feel like we need to share it. So we found a few families that needed Christmas, and so we got them Christmas. And then it helped me to get some equipment for the show. And I didn't want to sit around and deteriorate, so that's why.
No, you're telling stories and you're taking care of other people.
Well, I just feel like you should give back. When you get a blessing, you should give to somebody else. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here by any means. I just feel it's important.
Yes, and thank you for doing that, and for sharing that you are doing it too, because hopefully it inspires other. I know it certainly has inspired me in this moment to say, how could I be better sharing my blessings?
Well, it's karma too. You never know when you're going to be in that situation. I've been in that situation before. I've had to be helped, so it's kind of like I'm paying that forward.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So.
Yep. I love that. Well, your ability to weather all kinds of storms, that is absolutely what is going to help you. 100%. That is definitely going to help you. Let's see what is going to hinder you. The Two of Wands.
Uh-oh.
And so our wands, remember, that's our fire, our passion, our drive, our creativity. And the two is oftentimes about like igniting, right? Like one match lighting another, one candle lighting another, sort of igniting another flame. But we see that this also, for anyone who's watching and seeing this in person, and seeing this visually, we can see that this card is upside down. There's a man standing here. He's got one staff in his hand and one behind him. But this card's upside down. This is not right side up. And there are different ways that people like to read what is called a reversal or an inversion in the tarot. Some people don't read them at all, which is totally fine. Some people like to read them as like the negative expression of a card. I disagree with that because I think every card holds the full spectrum of its meaning.
Mhm.
So I like to think of it either as something that needs to be dropped from your life or the internal expression of the card. And so with this, like the vibe that I'm getting is that what's going to hinder you is not making sure that your own light gets ignited. Like you have to put your own oxygen mask on first. They tell you that on a plane for a reason.
Yep.
In order for you to be able to pass your blessings forward and to share that and give back, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first.
True. Got to get your own house in order before you can help others.
And so, you know, this is another reminder to you that, like, yes, please keep doing what you're doing, but you got to put your own mask on first. Because what's going to hinder you is lighting everybody else's candles, right? And, you know, we know that you can light as many candles as you need to from one flame, and it shouldn't go out. But what this is saying is if you keep lighting everybody else's candle without protecting your own, your flame is going to go out.
Okay. Yeah, I do tend to want to do for everybody else and not myself.
Yeah. Are you a Cancer?
Nope, I'm a Libra.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. That works too.
Yeah, equally happy and sad at the same time. Yeah, that's me.
Right. And always looking to help everybody around you. That's definitely a Libra quality.
Okay. But
yeah, so, you know, weather the storm, but put your mask on first.
Okay.
Yeah, because the potential you haven't even tapped into is the Ace of Cups.
Okay.
And the Ace is always the beginning of a cycle. It's like it's a fresh cup. And again, we have this inverted, it's upside down. And cups, remember, that's our feelings, our emotions, our intuition. And this is saying, like, this cup is filling up even though it's upside down. Like we can see 4 streams, you know, whether they're coming in or going out, it doesn't matter. We can't tell right now, but this is about you filling your own cup. Like you haven't even scratched the surface of that potential. Because in filling your cup, the overflow easily goes to everyone else. So then it's not work to help others put their oxygen masks on.
It's always been our plan that we want to help others. I want to bring people along with me. You know, if I'm successful, the people that are under me are going to be successful.
Yeah. Right. But you still got to focus on yourself. This kind of reinforces that message of putting your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions and like your intuition. And when you really listen to yourself and sort of tap in, like that has to come first. Because that's what you haven't even scratched the surface of the potential of listening to your own heart. And like, once you do, you're going to be able to help so many more people. Like in ways that you don't even know yet.
Yeah. There's lots of people in our lives that we really want to do for.
But you got to fill your own cup up first. Because when I flip this over and show it to you, look at that. Look at all that overflow and like how much that's offering for everyone else. But it has to be the overflow. It can't be the contents of the cup itself.
Okay.
Is this resonating for you?
Yeah, it's the hardest thing in the world for me to do, to want to do for myself.
Yeah.
I always seem to feel like I talk about myself when I'm talking to my guests instead of focusing on them, and so then I feel bad after the show.
No, but it's a give and take, right? Like,
but I'm the only example I can give.
Sure, right. But also, you know, this could be little stuff. This could be like, turning the radio to the station that you want to listen to in the car, right? Like it could be as small as that. It doesn't have to be big grand gestures.
I always bring the headphones so I can listen to my own music.
Don't do that. Have everyone listen to your music.
I just my daughter loves that all that hip hop and stuff.
Well, sure.
And
you know, kids.
I can't.
Yes, you don't need to. Guess what? You're the one behind the wheel. You're the one that picks the radio.
Well, that's the problem is I can't really drive anymore.
Not so. Right, of course. But like you're the one that's like providing, right, for your family.
It is my truck.
And so, yes, there you go. My truck, my radio, right? Like
right.
My truck, my rules. You know, like even if you're physically not behind the wheel, you're still the one calling the shots.
Gotcha.
Right. And I think that's what this is saying. Like, call your shots.
Got to do that. I know I've been told that so many times. It's just the hardest thing. And I preach to other people, you gotta, you know, do for yourself sometimes. And I can't even do it.
I mean, you know what, too, Kyle, though, it could be as small as like requesting what you want for dinner. Instead of saying like, what's for dinner? Saying, hey, I would love to have burgers tonight.
Well, if it was up to me, we'd eat at Whataburger all the time. So.
Well, there you go. So ask to do that a little more often. Like truly, it can be so small. You know, or like, hey, babe, next time you go to the grocery store, will you get those zebra cakes that I love so much, please? Okay, thanks. Like, right? Like it could be the silliest little stuff.
Yeah, come think of it. I think I want bacon for supper tonight.
There you go. Breakfast for dinner sounds fabulous.
Nice bacon and lettuce, cheese.
There you go. Little like BLT moment.
There we go.
I see, and like that's not a hard thing to ask for. Some bacon.
So, can you tell me a little bit more about your Broadway cards?
Yeah, it's still in development. I've been working on these cards. I had the idea pretty early in the pandemic, and basically, you know, it's the idea that we find these archetypes in stories everywhere. You know, we see them in our heroes' journeys in so many different types of stories, and we could say that it's, you know, for example, really important that you listen to your intuition, that you follow your gut, that even if the forces around you are telling you something is right and true, that if it doesn't align for you and that doesn't sit right with you, then that's not your truth. That can't be your truth. You're going to have to stand for what you believe in your own truth. And that describes the High Priestess, but that is also Elphaba from Wicked. You know what I mean? Like it's this character that musical theater kids, you know, and like so many people that go see it, you're going to go to New York, you want to see a Broadway show, you're probably going to pick Wicked or The Lion King or Phantom of the Opera, right? Maybe Chicago. Right. Depends on, you know, if you've been before, if you know what, you know, or if you're like, yeah, I just want to see a show because that's part of the experience. But then, you know, you have your kids who are obsessed with this stuff. And there's, you know, like I grew up with just loving theater so much. And I found that this was a really fun way to sort of marry these two things that I love and tell stories at the same time.
Right.
Because we can go back here and look at your cards right here and say, okay, so what will help you is this ability to weather storms, this Five of Pentacles, Five of Coins, this this faith that the bad times, the hard times, the things that maybe to the world seem impossible are temporary. Even when, you know, they feel permanent, they're temporary. And you have an ability to move through that with grace. You have to be careful to not put yourself last as you're doing that moving through those hard times, those challenges, the road bumps and the, you know, detours and all of the things that are unexpected and come in life. And caring for others can absolutely be part of that journey and that process, but it can't be the focus. It can't be the only thing that you do, because that is going to deplete your resources. You have to fill your own cup. And you haven't even started filling your own cup. Like, this is untapped potential. You've had, you know, however many years you've had on this planet, like, you have ahead of you to begin saying, okay, how do I want to move forward in this? Where I'm helping myself so I can help others, so I can continue to weather those hard times and move through them when they come, because they'll keep coming, right? That's life.
Yep, that's for sure. So if you're wondering, almost 52 years.
Congratulations. Here's to 52 more.
I don't know if I want to live to be 104 though.
Well, you know, we don't know what kind of technology the next 52 years are going to bring us.
Probably be inside computers by then.
I mean, I did just watch The Matrix on a flight the other day, and it had been a very long time since I'd seen it because I did not watch the remake. And that was a little bit of a mind F. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on your show, but wow, yeah, that was something.
It makes you wonder if we're not living in the Matrix.
Oh, I think we kind of are living in a version of that for sure. It's just more subatomic particles than AI.
Yeah, I hear you. So you have like a website or something that people come to?
Absolutely. So my website is EmilyMcGillEntertainment.com. It's very long. I apologize. And you can, you know, my tarot's on there. My Broadway background's on there. You can check that out. Book a reading with me if you're interested. And then I also am on Instagram at Emily Ann MCG. Anne with an E after my grandmother, who was Anna, or great grandmother rather. She was Anna. So it feels like it's like that German, Dutch, right? Like Anna, it's Anne with an E, but it's pronounced Anna. So yeah. So Emily Ann MCG.
So you have website and Instagram.
Yes.
Oh, sweet. I can put those links in the description so people can just click on it.
Perfect. Thank you.
And Emily, I thank you for spending time with me. Is there anything you'd like to leave with everyone?
No, if one person is more curious about the tarot or less fearful of it, because one thing we didn't really talk about is, of course, a lot of the stigma that comes along with it. A lot of the beliefs that those in power have tried to imprint on everyone else to keep them in power. And not to sort of grasp our own power. Tarot is just a tool. You know, a lot of the stuff you hear about is, fear.
Yeah, I've actually heard people say that they would rather use the oracle because of the tarot are more on the evil side or the dark side. So right. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I'm like you, probably a way of saying, you know, I'm better, and you know how it is.
Yeah. Well, you know, some people sometimes we move from fear because it's the only thing we've ever known, and it's how we keep ourselves safe.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult to buck the programming that we've been given to reconsider what truth may be for us. So
know what you mean.
I get it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I never really was that into social media. Mm-hmm. Mostly I have it for the show. Mm-hmm. I had gotten away from Twitter. I just didn't like the way people acted on it, but
Yeah, I don't
I'm
use it.
I'm gonna give it another shot.
All right.
I'm gonna see if this go around is better, and if it's not, I'll just delete it like I did last time.
Great. Great. Right. But you're going to go in and decide for yourself.
Yeah.
You're not going to let someone else make the decision for you.
That's right. I will say that since I've gotten back on, I said I wouldn't do it, but I was like, I'm gonna try. Since I've been back on, I'm surprised that I've got more interaction than I did the first time, and I don't know, a lot more people seem to be reaching out.
That's great.
I think they're probably because of the show and the things that we represent. I think that's why people reach out to us. So, give life a try.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
But anyway, Emily, thank you again. And I will put those links up. And I want
Thank
to thank
you. My pleasure.
Oh, anytime. You'd like to come back and talk about your Broadway tarot a little more, I'd love to help promote it. So
Thank you.
But to all of you out there, if you are new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. And I hope you'll subscribe. To those of you who are regular, thank you for your support. It's because of you, we do what we do. I would say check that subscribe button, especially if you're watching this on YouTube, because for some reason, YouTube just unsubscribes people. I don't know why, but they just do it. But anyway, until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
Poor boy.